A chain link gate swung open with surprising speed. The man who opened it carried no thought of the terrible weather, or of anything he was up against. Yelling obscenities, he ran as fast as he could through the opening. That thing wasn't getting him. No way. He sprinted through the gates and into the alleyway. He didn't know why and he didn't know how, but something was following him. His first inclination was to when he kept seeing this menacing figure at every turn, and he thought someone was following him. But that quickly changed when he saw the height and the shape of the being. Great, a fork in the alleyway. Mark sped towards the right, not because he had a good feeling, but because he knew whatever it was would catch up. But he knew whatever it was would catch up with him no matter which way he went. The figure always seemed to be 2 steps ahead of him. Every turn he made, it was there, silent as the night, just watching him. He could never make out the figure in the rain, as it blurred his vision, but he was tall and seemed to wear black and white, with black coverings the torso and leg, and with a silent figure. It didn't move when it was being watched. He could look at it and just keep it frozen. It worked, but when he stared at it, he felt sick, like something was clawing at its way out of him. His worst memories resurfaced in his brain. Among the embarrassing dates, a lost pet, sister funeral. He had turned away, crawling for a few seconds until he could stand up again. Then he ran far from the creature. The thing like his memories, he could not seem to escape. Suddenly Mark was slipped on a giant puddle, interrupting his thought. Immediately his jeans and hoodie became soaked in contact. Picking himself up from the water, the feeling to look back was too great. He looked around. There it stood, a real frightening as ever. What real startled him was that the fact it was closer because of the tumble, only mere 20 feet away. Trying not to scream in case it triggered a reaction from the creature, he spun around and ran. The rapids may not know anything of the fox, but it senses the danger when it presents itself. This was not unlike the feeling he had right now. He didn't know what it was or why it wanted him, but he felt a genetic memory that thing was a threat. If this thing was chasing him, it probably chased other people too, which meant nobody had gotten away from this thing ever, or else they didn't live long after that to tell the tale. Mark ran out of the alleyway and straight into the street. The rain been coming down hard. He knew, but now he hadn't realized how much the street was overflowing with water. It was coming onto the sidewalk, a flash flood. He wasn't really surprised that nobody was out. Even if it was New York, with this weather, everyone was still inside, closed and locked their doors, leaving him alone with. Realizing his mistake, he threw himself into the street. While turning around, the figure had come to stop about 10 feet from where he was. There, he swung under the water. It was surprising how being underwater in the city streets, but at least it wasn't deep. Finding a hold on the asphalt, he pushed himself up and looked out of the water. Looking around, he found that the street was going uphill or downhill, depending on the way you looked at it. This meant that there was a slight current in the water, not enough to pull him away, but enough to make him unsteady. Mark looked around frantically about the creature whereabout in the pouring rain. He couldn't see 10 feet in front of him. If the creature really wanted him, then why was he about as vulnerable as he could been possibly? Looking around, he finally spotted it about a yard away, this close and in the rain. It looked like something out of a horror movie. It stood there, 8 feet tall at first glance, but it tried to find its head. It seemed to just get taller, like an endless ladder. Looking closely, he noticed that what he would originally thought was skin was actually a formal suit, complete with a tie. It was both comical and terrifying at the same time, much like a clown. It looked like an ordinary object and perverted it, twisted it into something sick. Upon even closer inspection, he realized far apart from perfection. It had a large rip in its tie, and one sleeve was torn off about halfway. It has many tears in its fabric and was sustained with several foreboding rust-colored spots. But when he finally found his face, he screamed. It wasn't that there was no face, but it was horrible. That this his mind immediately raced the image. His head. Every second he spent staring at it, he literally could not remember what it was, but terrifying beyond belief. Snapping himself out of trance, he moved toward a rightly narrowed avoid. Tentacle? How had he missed that? Ducking toward, he close evaded deception from another. Remembering the current, he threw himself down on the street, being swept away from the current downhill. The entity did not follow. Floating down, unstable to get a grip, Mark was just stayed up on his butt while sliding. Looking ahead, he found to his horror that the creature was already at the bottom of the large hill. Using his feet to steer, he sped towards the lamppost and sidewalk. Reaching towards, he attempted to grab it, only to find himself falling, grabbing the edge of the sidewalk as he not to be swept in. He realized there must be a sewer gate below him, unseen. The water cursing it, he pulled up himself to look to his right. He spotted a figure about 60 yards away. Now gripping the concrete, he tried to heave himself up. Another quick glance to the right, 20 feet away. Giving it up, Mark let go and fell into the water. The 4 seconds of the terrifying freefall, hit the ground, hearing a crack and extreme pain. He moved his left leg. It felt fine. Then the other. Once he moved it, he felt increasingly intense pain at the base of his thigh. It meant that his hip. Shit. Trying to stand up, he couldn't find. The pain was too unbearable. He started crawling, knowing that he had to get away, dragging himself across the ground. Now he came to the sewer canal, carried the water, and gunked other stuff. Street. Looking to his left, he saw the light. He could tell vision was blurred. Funny enough, it got cloudier. The sick feeling started again. Along the memories, realizing his fate, he tried to drag himself into a canal so he can drown. Certainly would be more peaceful death than whatever that being had in store for him. Right as he fell down, he felt as a tentacle grab his ankle, lift him out of water, flipping him from right side up, hanging him. Looking at the creature for the first time face to face, he was filled with unimaginable terror. Its body radiated evil, and he vomited from the sickness again and again. Then he felt like 2 claws fingerly laid possessed on an eye. He tensed up, realizing what he was about to do. The woman opened her apartment room window. Looking out in the rain, she had heard screams, but there was silence for the rain now. Other than the rain now, there was no point of looking outside. There was something to see. The rain must have been coming down hard as it began. She thought about her mother, and familiar sadness washed over her. She turned away from the window, sitting down by the lamp. She began to read a book. Looked up slightly. She was startled by a brief, faint outline of a man outside her window. But that was impossible. Her room was on the 5th floor. She laughed at her absurd thought. Then she saw the other shadow standing next to her own.